You're not lazy. If you were, you wouldn't feel this tired all the time. You wouldn't feel this pressure to keep going, to stay productive, to stay available. Laziness is simple. What you feel is heavier than that. You wake up already feeling behind, not because you didn't sleep, but because your mind never really stopped. Even in quiet moments, something is pulling at your attention, and it feels normal. You don't feel exhausted because you do too little. You feel exhausted because your mind never gets to settle. Every day begins with small interruptions, messages, notifications, expectations. Before you choose what matters, something else already decided for you. Your attention is pulled away, forced back, then pulled again. That constant switching feels harmless, but over time, it drains you more than effort ever could. You're not overwhelmed by work. You're overwhelmed by fragmentation. You think rest will fix this. A day off, a weekend, a vacation. But when things finally slow down, your mind doesn't. You reach for your phone. You look for noise. You fill the silence without noticing. That's how you know this isn't about energy. It's about dependency. Your mind has been trained to react, to respond, to stay alert even when nothing is happening. So when there's finally space to think, it feels uncomfortable, almost wrong. That's not exhaustion. That's a hijacked attention system. You don't notice when it starts, because nothing feels wrong. You're still functioning, you're still showing up, you're still doing what's expected of you. But slowly, your life becomes reactive. You respond instead of choosing. You adjust instead of deciding. Your attention goes where it's pulled, not where it matters. And over time, that constant reacting creates a quiet kind of stress. Not panic, not burnout. Just a steady feeling that something important is always being missed. Over time, this doesn't just make you tired. It changes how you experience life. Moments don't fully land. Conversations feel shallow. Achievements feel smaller than they should. You're always present enough to function, but never present enough to feel fulfilled. And because nothing is obviously wrong, you blame yourself. You think you should be more disciplined, more focused, more motivated. But the truth is simpler than that. You're living with a divided mind, so you try to fix it. You optimize your mornings, you clean your schedule, you look for better habits. And for a while it feels like progress. But the noise always comes back. Because the problem was never your routine. It's the way your attention is constantly being claimed. Even when nothing urgent is happening, you don't need a better system. You need fewer demands on your mind. Until that changes, everything else is just management. The shift doesn't happen when you do more. It happens when you stop responding to everything. When you choose silence over reaction, depth over speed. Most people never make this shift, not because it's hard, but because it feels wrong at first. Silence feels unproductive until it becomes power. Reclaiming control doesn't start with discipline, it starts with awareness. You begin to notice what pulls at you, what interrupts your thoughts, what demands your attention without asking. Not everything deserves access to your mind. Most things don't. When you stop reacting by default, you create space, and in that space, clarity returns, not all at once, but enough to change direction. Silence isn't empty, it's unfamiliar. When the noise fades, your thoughts don't disappear. They finally surface. That's why most people avoid silence. Not because they're busy, but because they don't like what comes up. But this is where attention rebuilds itself. Where your mind learns to stay instead of escape. At first it's uncomfortable, then it becomes grounding, and eventually it becomes strength. You don't need to fix yourself. Nothing about you is broken. You were simply never meant to live in constant reaction. A mind that's always pulled never gets the chance to choose. And the moment you begin choosing what enters your attention, something shifts. Not your schedule, not your productivity, your sense of control, quietly, gradually, until one day you realize you're no longer rushing through life. You're finally present inside it. Most people never notice the space between stimuli. The moment something ends, they reach for something else. A sound, a screen, a distraction. But that space, the pause, is where your mind recalibrates. When you remove it completely, your thoughts lose their depth. You don't think less, you just think shallower. Even when you're not doing anything, your mind is still working, replaying conversations, anticipating problems, preparing responses that may never be needed. That constant background activity creates a quiet fatigue. Not the kind sleep fixes, not the kind motivation solves. It's the exhaustion of a mind that never feels safe enough to fully shut down. At some point, being busy stops being a necessity and becomes an identity. If you slow down, it feels like you're falling behind, so you stay occupied. Not because everything matters, but because stillness feels threatening. Busyness becomes protection, a way to avoid uncomfortable thoughts. But the more you rely on it, the harder it becomes to feel calm without it. Rest doesn't feel restorative anymore. It feels undeserved. Even when you stop, your mind keeps checking the clock, measuring productivity, counting what's left undone. You're physically still, but mentally on standby. That's when rest stops being rest. It becomes another task you feel you're failing at, and slowly even peace starts to feel like pressure. You think control comes from staying alert, from tracking everything, from never letting your guard down, but constant vigilance isn't control, it's tension. The more you try to monitor everything, the less space your mind has to breathe. Real control isn't about holding tighter, it's about knowing what to release, and most of what exhausts you was never yours to carry. Your mind doesn't need more options, it needs fewer pulls. Every choice you don't make consciously is made for you by noise. When you reduce what asks for your attention, something unexpected happens. Moments feel fuller, thoughts last longer. You begin to feel grounded again. Not because life slowed down, but because your mind stopped being dragged in every direction at once. Clarity doesn't arrive dramatically. There's no sudden breakthrough. It shows up quietly, in longer pauses between thoughts, in moments where you don't feel the need to escape. You start noticing when your attention drifts, and instead of chasing it, you bring it back. Not forcefully, just deliberately. That's when you realize something important. Your mind was never broken. It was just overwhelmed. Silence isn't something you escape to. It's something you build around yourself. Not by disconnecting from life, but by deciding what no longer gets access to you. Silence becomes a baseline, a place your mind returns to. From there, everything feels clearer. Decisions feel lighter. Reactions slow down. You stop needing constant stimulation to feel okay. And that's when attention stops feeling fragile and starts feeling steady. When urgency fades, life doesn't become empty. It becomes spacious. You still move forward. You still act. But without the constant pressure to respond to everything immediately. You start trusting your pace, your timing. And slowly, life stops feeling like something you're constantly catching up to. It begins to feel like something you're actually living inside. You were never lazy. You were just carrying more mental noise than a human mind was designed to hold. The moment you stop treating every thought as urgent, your mind begins to soften, not weaker, clearer. And from that clarity, you don't just regain focus, you regain yourself quietly, without force, at your own pace,